Kia ora. There's a lot to cover in this video, so I'm going to jump right in. So in the last one, we learned how to use GitHub and make GitHub work with Visual Studio Code. This one, we're just going to dive right in. We're going to learn how to clone, which I'll just do that straight away. And then with our clone, we're going to make a new repository. And with the new repository, we're going to link it to something called Netlify, which allows us to deploy directly from GitHub here. Right? Deploy means to make it live so people can actually visit the website. And it's all free. It's pretty cool. So straight away, I need to clone this template. That's why we made the template, so we could easily copy it and then create new repositories and new projects. Okay, so let me show you how to do that. It's here. So I'm going to open the folder that has all my projects in it. I'm going to try to open it. There we go. All right, so that's our folder. I want the path to this. Okay. So to do that, I can right click in the open space and, well, there is an option here to open in terminal. That doesn't always show up on everyone's machines though. So I was going to try to show you a better way. To do that, I've got to go one folder up. And this will work for everyone's machine, right? So right click, copy as path. Okay. So I just went up a folder and took the main folder and copied it as a path. Now I'm back in that folder, and I'm going to go to the little search tool down here, and I'm going to type in cmd, and that's going to give me a command prompt. All right. I know I'm moving pretty fast, so you may want to pause and catch up or go back and repeat stuff. But I need to move fast because there's a lot to cover. Now, it's put me, now this is a command prompt, right? It's put me in my user folder, but I want to navigate to that actual folder. So let's do that. That's going to be CD, which stands for change directory, and then Control V. That's the path that I copied earlier. Now my path, you can see, is super long. Yours might be shorter. It's just that actual path, and hit enter. And now the prompt is showing me at that location. Just to check what's in that folder, I can do dir for a directory scan. And there we are. Getting started, 02, user input, 04 template. Cool. So, and now I'm in the right location where I want to be in that folder, JavaScript projects. Now I'm going to go to GitHub. I'm going to go to this green code button on the front of my repo. And then I'm going to go here, local, make sure it's on HTTPS, and then copy that URL to the clipboard. Now, back to the command prompt. And here I'm going to go git clone, and then Control V and paste that URL. And because Git's installed on this machine, it's then gone and fetched it and put it into another folder. So I can press the arrow key up a couple times and it will go through the history of my commands, so I don't have to type dir. I mean, it's not a big deal to type dir, but sometimes you have long command prompts and that arrow key on your keyboard just makes it easier to cycle through different commands. So I want dir, and now it's given me a new thing called template, and that matches this name that we've given it here. So I'm going to open up File Explorer. It's just a lot easier to do this with the graphical interface. And I'm going to change this name of this to, so I'll rename it. What's up here? Rename. Missed it. Rename 05 Netlify. Okay. And then over here, I'm going to go CD for change directory, start typing 05, and then hit tab and it will autocomplete. That's a little shortcut that scans the folder for anything that starts with 05 and then autocomplete. And I hit enter. And now the prompt is showing me inside of that folder. I can do a directory scan here. And there's my index.html, JavaScript, etc. There is one folder in here that's hidden. And I'll show you that in the graphical interface. And I'll do that now before we go any further. So here is Netlify. If I open that up, I've got this .get. Now you may need to, it might be in the view, show hidden items, because that's a hidden folder, right? So you have to make sure, if you go to view, then show hidden items is checked, and then that get will show up. I actually want to just delete that folder. The reason for that is that this Git repository, even though it's cloned, still points to this template. So if I make any changes and then push it, it will overwrite my template. So to make a new one, it's actually quite simple. You just delete that Git folder, and now this is no longer a repo, right? A repository. Repo is short for that, right? That's not a repo anymore. That's just some code on my machine, okay? Now I'm going to make it a repo. Let's go back to here, command prompt, and I'm just thinking. First, I'm going to open Visual Studio Code this way. I'm inside of the folder, the project folder. I'm going to type code space dot and then enter, and it will open up Visual Studio Code in that folder. That's a huge convenience, right? Now I need to just get rid of those welcome screens and all that. And notice how the source control thing is pretty much like non-existent. Oh, they've added a way to initialize it with a button. I might just try that, because we've already linked Visual Studio Code to our GitHub account. So it might just go really, really smoothly. I'm wondering, let's just try it. Sorry, this is a video. I've never tried it. We're going to try it. It might just be easy this way. Okay, so it's made it into a repo, but we haven't made a repository for it. But I'm gonna call this init push and see what happens. Wants to sign in using GitHub. Oh, may need to sign in. Which account? Oh, okay, I've got lots of GitHub accounts. Ooh, this is naylandschool.nz. Okay, authorize Visual Studio Code. I thought I'd already done that, but anyway. Okay. Back into Visual Studio Code. And publish branch. Okay. Up here, it's asking me basically, do I want it private or public? I'm going to stick with private. And now I've never done it this way. I usually do it the same way that I taught in the last video, by going here, creating a repo here, getting the code, and then matching it, etc. Well, I guess technology just advanced on us, because, in fact, let me go back here and check. I'm going to go back to my username and look for the different repos I have. It's nothing public, but I can still see under repositories, my private ones. And there we go. I have a repo. That was easy. Okay, cool. Let's try it that way now. All right, so there it is. Not much to look at. It's the same, just boring template. But this video is about deploying and then we can have fun making cool stuff and having it go live. What I will do is some simple changes just on the code here. Just call it H1 Netlify example. And that's the only change I'm going to make. Right. And source control picked up the change. I'm going to say change the title, commit, and then sync. And that should sync up to my GitHub account. I can refresh here and see if the message changed. There it is, title. And I just changed it. Cool. All right. Stage 1 complete. Now, this is Netlify. Let's see if I can open a home page. I've already logged in. So now it's going to my dashboard. But look, just type in netlify.com, make a free account, and on that free account, verify your email and all of that. Make sure you don't sign up for a free trial or anything like that. This isn't scammy. They don't try to take money from you. I've had my account for years. I use a different account, obviously, than the one I'm making for this video. But just make that, verify your email, and then get to your dashboard here. Right? And so you pause now and do that. And once that's done, we're going to import an existing project from Git. So click that button. We're going to deploy it with Github. And now it wants Netlify to talk to GitHub. Kind of the same sort of thing, getting VS Code to talk to GitHub. We want Netlify and our GitHub account to be friends, okay? It's not asking for lots of permission. It's good to read through this stuff, by the way, before you give permission for different apps to talk to different apps. It just wants to see your email address, so it's benign. Authorize Netlify. I believe there's a little bit of a process we go to after this. So it's kind of reopened Netlify again, and then it's saying, okay, what repositories do you want to give permission to? All right, you can say all, current and future. If you go only select a certain one, it's only gonna, you can be very specific, but if you're gonna use this for more projects, you click all. I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory. I'm gonna just give it full permission because I know how it works. I have to, because I'm pushing private repositories. Going back to this is private. Means no one has access to this unless I give them specific access. The way that Netlify works is, if it's public, it just goes straight through. You don't have to give it all these special permissions for each repo. But I've lost my, hold on, I have to go to Alt-Tab. There we go. Yeah. So, but if it's private, you have to give it specific permission for that specific repo. I kind of like it that way. It's just a little layer of security, but I'll still go all repositories, so I don't have to do this process every project. And then it's going to ask me which one do I want, and I'm going to choose my Netlify, and I'm going to give it a name, which determines the web address or the URL. So I'm going to just call this Netlify example, and I should have thought that's obviously not there. Let's just call this Digital Dojo example, or better, Netlify. Okay, that works. I mean, you can come up with your own. The branch to deploy is main. We've not used multiple branches, so that should just be default there. We don't need special build commands, and everything's in the main directory. There's no special thing. We don't have environment variables because it's not a client server-side app. And we hit deploy. Give it a minute. It shouldn't take long because it's literally just like 3 files. and I'm pretty sure it's live. So there's a link there for us. Click that, and there we go. HTTPS, it's on a secure server, Dink, digitaldojo-netlify.netlify.app. And that's where it lives. It's publicly accessible. You could share that link to anyone else. Now, if you have your own domain name, you can actually point it to like a subdomain, etc. That's the sort of stuff I do because I have like domain names. It's not super complicated to do. If you want to do it, you can read it in the docs. Obviously, you need your own domain to do it. Not necessary because they give you one. I mean, it's going to be netlify.app, but it works. In fact, every app you deploy, whether or not you have a domain name or not, it also has a Netlify address for it, so you end up with two anyway. Cool. So there's Netlify example. Here is the really awesome part. Going back to my GitHub and then going back to Visual Studio Code, I'm going to rewrite the text here and the p tags. So we'll select that. Here is an update to Netlify. Okay, Control S to save it. Version control picks it up, push through to Netlify, just a message from me. So if I go commit and then sync, here's what happens. Now, we know that this changes the repo here to whatever it's going to, the message is going to be. I'll refresh it. It's probably already updated. Push through to Netlify. And now Netlify, where's my dashboard? Netlify will pick up that change through what's called a webhook. I'll go to project overview. In fact, this link here deploys. You can see that we just pushed it at 10:32. It's 10:33 now, but you can see it just picked that up. These deployments are really quick, right? And then here I'll refresh, and the live version is now what I changed in Visual Studio Code. So that flows through automatically now. So anything you type, any code you do, you just update, sync, and that will push through to live. You don't have to, look at it. It just happens, right? It's pretty cool, and it costs nothing. Used to be deploying a website was a big deal. There you go. Mic drop. Bah. Like I invented this or something. No, but I've been using this workflow for a long time. And the only concern with Netlify is if you have a site that generates a lot of traffic. Everything's metered. So if it generates a lot of traffic, you'll start to have to pay to deploy it. Just like you would have to pay to have it deployed on your own private server or a VPS or dedicated box, whatever. You still have to pay. Even for like WordPress deployments, you got to pay. But here's a way to do it if it's no big deal. Like there's not much traffic. When I say much traffic, I mean like thousands of users and stuff, or at least hundreds of users. So until you get to that point, it's free. Cool. All right. Now, where to go from here? I'm going to just tack this onto the video because I think it's good to look down the road. We haven't learned a lot of sophisticated JavaScript. This was just a taster, right? Just to see what you could do to open the door. And I've found teaching coding for 20 years, roughly 20 years I've been teaching kids how to code. The ones who really want to learn how to code will learn how to code, right? And my job at that stage is really just to be a coach, to show what I've learned in terms of a good learning path. And right now in 2025, this is the best thing to aim for. SvelteKit. I don't the Replit. I just want the Svelte. Here we go. So Svelte is what's called a web framework. The cool thing about it is you don't have to learn tons of weird code that changes, etc. Right? Like there's a JavaScript. It's a library actually. It's not really a framework. It's called React, and it's been super popular for maybe 5-6 years, maybe longer. There's big money for people who are really, really competent in React. There's a lot of development with it. And the idea is that it's just fast. It's a server client library. But Svelte does that. It does it faster in most cases. And it's just simplified. It's called, web development for the rest of us. Right. The thing with React, I got really into it and I learned how to use it back in 2017. And I was excited. I'm up to speed. I'm on the edge of things. The thing is that edge changes very quickly. You have to constantly keep your skills up with it. And as a school teacher, I don't have time, So, I mean, if you're in the zone, like this is what you do for a living, it makes sense. Learn React. But even then, you don't need it. This does, as far as I know, this does everything React can do. Right? And it's usually faster. It's more reactive than React, right? So Svelte is, I guess you could say, it's the language because it just uses HTML, which we've got a taste of, CSS, we've also had a look at, and JavaScript. That's it. Like literally all this headache of learning all these weird things, you just don't have to do it. I mean, it has its own methods, etc. In fact, the thing I use is SvelteKit, which is a really good web framework. But to learn that, if you go to the Svelte here, go to tutorial. It has a really good introduction tutorial, and I just highly recommend, if you really like web development, start here, because look at that. I mean, I say, oh, that's Svelte. It just looks like HTML, because that's exactly what it is. It's HTML, JavaScript, CSS, but it's just done in such an amazing way that you can do all this fancy reactive stuff. When I say fancy reactive stuff, I mean like I'm looking at this web page and then something updates and I don't know, on a server somewhere or whatever, and then the page just changes in front of me, like currency charts or stuff. There's stuff that's live. And so it's almost like you're streaming a web page, and every component is a separate entity that can go detect through webhooks changes through an API of like the cost of gold or something, right? And then your page just changes in front of you. You don't have to refresh, etc. And that's one of the most practical uses of React, although there's a lot more. Well, SvelteKit does that too. And yeah, it has its own methods that you have to learn. It's not just basic HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. It would be advanced as you get further into it. But right here, there's nothing stopping you from learning. That's familiar. And I highly recommend going through this Svelte first, this basic Svelte, and then learn SvelteKit. Because SvelteKit, you can use the same workflow I taught you with Netlify here. Same workflow for free, deploy really interesting apps. And I do this. The things that I write, little projects, so many. It's things I do when I have a little time or a little free time. I'll tinker with little projects, and the exact same workflow I showed you, Visual Studio Code, GitHub, deployed to Netlify. I can play around with it in a live environment. I can send it to a friend. Hey, have a look at this. What do you think? It kind of still knocks my socks off at how all of this is just like free. All you have to do is spend time learning it. And hey, in this little short video course, I think I managed to get you here. Right now, It's to learn HTML, JavaScript, and CSS properly, with a little asterisk. CSS, it's great to learn it properly, but people use libraries nowadays, like Tailwind, CSS. Right. So SvelteKit, you can incorporate Tailwind, and you just use this CSS framework. Another really popular one is Bootstrap. I don't know why. Still had Tailwind in there. Bootstrap right here. And this is more popular than Tailwind, debatably. It may still be more popular. It's slightly easier to use, but I mean, all the stuff you see, like nice clean buttons and all of that, is basically just done for you. You just have to learn the Bootstrap CSS attributes, etc. Personally, I use Tailwind, but let me show you some other still cool libraries. Daisy UI, I used that one for quite a while, and now it's actually a Tailwind component library, which is really cool because you get all these like cool buttons and sliders, and I mean, I'll show you. This is, to me, I get excited with this stuff, like accordions. So hopefully it has a demo. Yeah, preview. You've got these things that open and close, like you open one and the other one's closed. It's kind of hard to see with white on white, but easy fix. There you go. Now it's dark on dark. So I'll find something with a bit more contrast. Not that. Yeah. Oh, now I can see some difference. Yeah. Accordion. My goodness. So many cool things. Like image carousels. All that's like done for you. It's so easy to use. So Daisy UI, I enjoyed working with this library. The one I use mostly now is Skeleton UI. Right, and it is also a Tailwind. Like Daisy UI uses Tailwind and gives you components, so does this. And the reason I like this is right here, ding, it integrates with Svelte, like directly. So it's kind of just easier to use. If you're using Svelte for development, Skeleton just works really simply. See if they've got any cool stuff to look at. Yeah, those are just full sites. Again, easy to change. You want to quickly get something up and going and looking good? Boom. Pick a theme, and then you can tweak the theme. In fact, is it under here? Create a theme. You can make your own theme, and it will give you all the code, and you just bring that into your Svelte project, and you've got a really awesome looking website. I usually do this in the first step, so I'm working with something that looks good. So when I'm making all my changes, etc. Yeah, trying to open. There we go. Yeah, when I'm making all my changes, etc., I'm actually looking at something really attractive. Yeah, for some reason, that helps me or whatever. So look, if you want me to show you how to get going with Svelte, well, first thing is right here, tutorial, svelte.dev. Okay, just go here and learn Svelte. Just work through that. If you want me to show you how to integrate Skeleton UI, which is, I don't know, that's my choice, I'll make a video show you how to do that. Somehow I lost. But look, you don't even need that. Just probably better because some of this stuff changes so quickly. Probably the easiest thing to do is just go right here, introduction. Read through framework agnostic. It used to be only Svelte, but now they've opened it up to other things. If you want to read all that, great. Installation. And here is SvelteKit. installation, create a project, blah, blah, blah. It'll show you how to create a Svelte project with skeleton already built in, and that's generally how I do it. Oh, yeah, lots to learn. So if you're done with this and you want more, first thing I'm going to say, go through these Svelte tutorials, and then I will pick up wherever you need me. Awesome. Thanks for sticking in there. I'm proud of you. Kapai.